these families are 2 and 3 generations away from the church. That's the reality in America. People say, what is our mission field? America is our mission field.
Welcome to the Propel Podcast, inspiration and innovation to grow your church. I'm your host, Larry Witzel. If God is giving you big dreams for growing His kingdom, then this is the podcast for you. Our goal is to offer practical training for effective evangelism in the Seventh-day Adventist ministry context, but the principles we talk about are applicable in many other churches as well. So wherever you're doing ministry, welcome to the Propel Podcast. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening on, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever it is. If you're watching on YouTube, then please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to share this with your ministry colleagues. Your support really helps our mission to inspire and innovate church growth. This episode features Dustin Hall, a pastor in both single and multi-church districts for 2 decades now, beginning his ministry in church planting. Known for innovative evangelism, he's led dynamic growth in both urban and rural settings, including creating an urban center of influence for families with small children. Currently, Dustin is leading a church revitalization project, Try Jesus Auburn, featuring a podcast and online content designed for his specific local community. He's also the author of 4 books. In this presentation, Dustin Hall shares his experience of revitalizing a struggling church through some innovative methods, particularly focusing on the use of a podcast to engage with the community. He discusses the challenges of reaching a post-Christian audience, the importance of building trust, and the need for churches to adapt their outreach strategies in this digital age. We're going to hear from Dustin Hall and his presentation in just a moment. Before we get to that message, though, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, the Washington Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. They were a huge help in bringing the Propel Conference to Puyallup, Washington this year and encouraging their churches to use it as a launch pad for Pentecost 2025, which is this movement to host over 3,000 evangelistic events and pray for a fresh outpouring of the Holy Spirit across Western Washington and throughout the North American area. The Washington Conference has a heart for mission, which is clear, and I'm grateful for their support in helping leaders grow and connect through events like this. To learn more about how the Washington Conference is making a difference and how you can get involved in their ministry, visit washingtonconference.org. Okay, here is Dustin Hall's Monday breakout track from the 2025 Propel Conference, and its topic, podcasting and online content for local church growth.
The more post-Christian your area is, the further they are from making a decision using traditional means. Now, what do I mean by that? I don't mean that evangelism doesn't work. I don't mean that traditional evangelism doesn't work. What I mean is the way people traditionally use traditional evangelism does not work in post-Christian communities. Because the way we usually use traditional evangelism is we don't do any pre-work, we don't build any trust with the community, we spend tens of thousands of dollars on flyers, and then hold a meeting and wonder why we don't baptize anyone or baptize very few people. And that model used to work in North America. It was around the time called Christendom. You remember, if you read the Mark Twain books, even Huck's dad quoted scripture. Because back in those days, everybody knew the Bible. Everybody attended church at least once in a while. Everybody was affiliated with a church to some degree. So when we applied traditional means of evangelism, all we had to do was tell people what the truth was, and they already had a relationship with Jesus. And so we just called them to make a decision and change some ideologies that they had about their Christianity. But we are now living in a post-Christian society. Therefore, we are starting at a much different place in their journey than we had back then. Does that make sense to everybody? So if you put them on a spectrum, people that don't know Jesus are a 0. People that are a baptized active church member are a 10. It used to be people were like a 6 or a 7. Now people are more like a 1 or a 2. What I've found is that in post-Christian communities like I have, people are not actually turned off to spiritual things. They are willing to have spiritual conversations and talk about God. It's just that they don't understand why anybody goes to church. They don't understand why people spend their time at the church. Because think about this with me. Some people are in their 3rd and 4th generation of their family not attending church. Think about that. And then we do churchy things and put on churchy programs and wonder why no one comes. The reason is, for generations now, it's not just them making a decision not to attend church. For generations now in America, their family has not attended church. Church has not been part of their story for many people now for 2 and 3 generations. You ever thought about that before? It hits you, doesn't it? But what we found is that people are not actually turned off to spiritual things. So is my area really all that post-Christian? Well, Rochester, New York, and Albany, New York are 2 of the 10 most post-Christian cities in America. Wow. Auburn, New York is smack dab in the middle of those 2. So that gives you an idea of what post-Christian New York looks like. And the population, as I said, of Auburn, New York is 28,000. And our church had dwindled down to 15 people, 13 of which were elderly. And some of these families, as I said, many of these families are 2 and 3 generations away from the church. That's the reality in America. People say, what is our mission field? America is our mission field. I have my son plays travel baseball. And I was talking to one of the other parents on the team, and he is a professor at Cornell University, which is not too far from our house. And he is fascinated by religion, fascinated by God, has no relationship, no connection to church whatsoever. But I was talking to him, and he was eating up our spiritual conversation. Just loved it. Now, what do you do as a pastor? What do you talk about? Now, what do you believe? I love to hear about religion. He was fascinated. He's fascinated by religious things. He just isn't part of it at all. This is a lot of people. We make a mistake when we automatically assume that because somebody doesn't attend church, that they are not interested in God. That is not the truth. That is not actually the truth. But the means by which we usually try to talk to people about God are not the way in which they're most easily going to be willing and open to talk about God. We do it the churchy way. They don't know anything about church and don't understand why anybody attends church. Thus, we need things like podcasts. We need to connect in different ways. In post-Christian communities, I said that. Look at this. We know this quote. We've seen this quote 1,000 times, right? Christ's method alone will give true success in reaching the people. The Savior mingled with people as one who desired their good. He showed sympathy for them, ministered to their needs, and won their confidence. Then he invited them, follow me. We've heard that quote 1,000,000 times when it comes to evangelism. My question to you today is, so how do we mingle with people and gain their confidence in the digital age, in the year 2025?
Meet one of their needs.
We meet one of their needs, perhaps. But even before we meet their needs, people are automatically skeptical of church people.
Yeah, that's true.
It used to be in our country that if you were a pastor, you'd get free haircuts and coffee.
Those days are long gone.
Because those days are long gone. That's absolutely right. But the title of pastor automatically came with a level of respect. How does the title of pastor now looked at in America, generally, in most communities? People are automatically skeptical of you, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're automatic. Oh,
Trusting.
here's why, and I'll give you a little history lesson about what happened in the United States of America. In World War II, people believed we were part of a just and righteous war. Isn't that true? Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. The Nazis were doing their thing. Up until World War II, people believed that America was just and righteous in their attempt. Then after Europe was already won, we dropped the atomic bomb on Japan. people saw the effects of the bomb that we dropped. And at that moment, society began to turn because they saw the images coming back from what that did to innocent people. And Americans started going, was that just? Should we have done that? And for the very first time in American history, people started saying, is America truly that just shining example of righteousness in this world? The question started to be asked. And then we set the stage with the rise of communism. And we look at the Vietnam War in the 1960s, and you see what began to happen in the 1960s. The doubt that came with establishments, the doubt that came with authority figures, because authority figures and establishments in people's minds began to let them down. You had people during the Vietnam War lashing out against our own military because they called them baby killers and everything else because they did not believe the war in Vietnam was a just war. And again, I'm not saying this is my view, I'm saying this is what happened in American culture. So for the very first time, people were not respecting our military, they were scoffing against our military. So this is the American climate. Then you go down through history and you look at Enron and these major corporations that were no longer in it for the good of people, but were in it to line their own pockets. So, and then you see church scandals and sexual abuse scandals and things like this, coupled with more and more doubt about the existence of God. People no longer trust organizations, they no longer trust church structure, and they no longer trust people who represent those structures. But they're not turned off to spiritual things. Isn't that interesting? So we have to find ways to mingle with people in many different ways, but especially about spiritual things in a way that's non-confrontational, and they don't feel like we're trying to get them in the established organization before we meet their needs and gain their confidence. And where are people in 2025? On their phone, where do people decide they're going to buy something in 2025?
Amazon.
You go online, and when you find a product, what do? You look at the reviews. You look at the comments. You look at all of these things. Isn't that the way you buy things? Why would it be any different when it comes to spiritual things? Especially when you're no longer connected to a church in most cases. You are going to go online, and if you're interested in spiritual things, you want to hear about God, you're going to go shopping online. You're going to look. And if we can be in the online space and gain people's trust while talking about spiritual things, we have begun that quote, gain their confidence. And then he bade them follow me, right? That's the goal. Gaining people's confidence on a spiritual level. What about podcasts? Because podcasts are online and they are growing. How many of you listen to a podcast? How many of you know what a podcast is? How many of you don't know what a podcast is? Okay, if you don't know what a podcast is, it's basically like a radio program that you can access at any time you want. And some of them have video like ours. We do video. So, it's like a talk radio program that you can access whenever you want because you find the channel and look and pick out an episode and listen to it or watch it. Does that make sense?
Like YouTube.
Kind of, yes, like YouTube. That's where one of the platforms that hosts a podcast. So listenership of podcasts in the U.S., 55% of the population over the age of 12 are monthly podcast listeners. So my friends, if that many people are listening to podcasts, we need to have podcasts. Amen. That's where people are. Half the population is listening to podcasts. It's even more. Demographics. Podcast consumption is particularly strong among younger audiences. What are we always wanting in our churches? Younger people. Younger people are listening to podcasts. Among younger audiences, 66% of U.S. consumers age 12 to 34 listen monthly. For the 35 to 54 age group, 61% tune in monthly, while 38% of those over 55 do so. The average American listens to 8 podcasts weekly. How about that? 8 podcasts weekly, spending about 7 hours per week on podcasts. That's a lot of time, isn't it? Why? Because it's so convenient. You can listen to it while you're taking a shower. You can listen to it while you're mowing the lawn. You can listen to it at work sometimes. It's accessible anytime, and it's engaging conversation. It's things that you're interested in. So you're going to spend time on it, mental time and energy on it. Smartphones are the primary device in which people listen to podcasts. 73% of listeners, with 71% using headphones for privacy. Video podcasts are gaining traction. 40% of U.S. weekly listeners preferred watchable format. So some are just audio, some are audio and video, which is what we use. The number of video podcasts grew from 39,000 in 22 to over 50,000. So it's really gaining traction, really gaining traction. Here's our goal. Here's our goal. Because a lot of podcasts are out there to go viral. Our goal is not to go viral. What we want to do is build trust and a dedicated audience of 50 to 100 people in our community. Because if I can get 50 to 100 people in my Auburn community to listen all the time, the likelihood of me winning that soul goes up exponentially. Now, traditional means of evangelism, how many of that 50 to 100 people, when they received a flyer, would actually go to the meeting?
Maybe one.
Maybe one. Maybe one. Yeah, actually, no. You know the statistics, right? If you held a meeting at your church and someone receives a flyer, do you know what the numbers tell us? 1 per 1,000. 1 per 1,000. That's if you're doing well. Right, that's if you're doing well.
That's crazy.
1 per 1,000. Yep, that's what flyers will get. Cold flyers. Cold flyers. Yep. Not that there isn't a place for it, but think of how much money that translates into.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money. $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, right? So if I can, and by the way, if I have 50 to 100 loyal listeners, guess how many other listeners I'm going to gain? Because they're going to tell their friends, aren't they? So it begins to grow. So my goal is to find 50 to 100 loyal listeners. And if we were to baptize half that, 50, 25, 30, look what that's done to my church that had 15 elderly people. Which we're already seeing the growth. And by the way, the people that are joining our church, 14 people that I mentioned, another lady that just came, we have another couple, they're all under the age of 55.
Excellent.
From this podcast, right? And of course, we're doing some other things that I talked about this morning with church revitalization, but we're making connections with our community. So here's some of the numbers. We have a website. How successful are we at meeting the needs of these people and beginning to gain confidence? Our website has had over 10,000 visits in under 9 months.
Amen.
10,000 visits from a podcast and from online marketing. 9,000 of those are unique visitors. So 9,000 people in a community of 28,000 heard about our podcast and checked out our website. Yes?
Good. Do you have any way to know how much or how long they were on?
The videos, yes. It varies based on the topic. It varies.
But the people, how long did they listen?
That's what I said. It varies based on the topic. Yep, it varies. So this is just our website now, tryjesusauburn.com. That's just our website. So 12,000 page views, so people are looking around, looking at different pages. We've had 159 people register to be contacts.
Wow.
Wow.
159 people. So they go to the website, they go to the contact us, and they put in their email information, and now we have their contact information from a podcast. So we have 109 email subscribers. Spotify listenership, not as good, 26, but these are people that have gone to Spotify. We're predominantly on YouTube, but even 26 people. Listen, this was a church that had 15 elderly people. We have 26 people in our community listening to our content on a regular basis on Spotify. Right? If we were to do an evangelistic series, how many people would come enough to your evangelistic series to subscribe to more content? Think of it that way. Oh, you're fine. Come on in. 500 plays on Spotify. Facebook, this is where it really takes off. 205, that's up to 200. This is old. Today, I think we had 252 followers on our Facebook page. By the way, we'd love to have you follow our page if you want. You can subscribe to our YouTube at Try Jesus Auburn. We'd love to have you subscribe. But we have 252, I believe, followers on Facebook. And I'm inviting you here in the upper Northwest here. These are all local. So we have 252 local people engaging with our church content on a regular basis and building trust and building confidence there. This is just January through March. So this is just 3 months. 90,000 views. 39,000 reach. So that's people who visited due to the marketing that we were doing. I'll talk about that in a bit. We had 1,000 clicks to our website and over 30 followers just in those months, and it goes up from there. So overall, with everything on Facebook, 145,886 views in the 9 months that we were on. And this is in a city of 28,000 people. So they're engaging with the content. They're engaging with it. Again, our focus is not to go viral. That doesn't sound good because podcasts have millions of followers, some of them, tens of thousands of followers. We're not interested in going viral. I'm a local pastor who wants my community to meet Jesus. So our goal is to reach our local community with the podcast. YouTube, 163 followers that we're up from that now, 32,700 views. A click-through rate. So these are people that watch your video and then click through to your website or click through to your other content. And that's been 3%. Doesn't sound like a lot, but businesses get 5 and call it good. So for religious, spiritual content to have click-through rate of 3% is pretty good. 75% of our listeners are in the age group of 25 to 54. So what did it take to get started? So you went, okay, this is exciting. How do we get started with this? Well, it took a church who realized its great need to try something new. We talked about that this morning, if you're in the class this morning. This was elderly people, but these 15 elderly people said, our church is about to die. We need to do something new. And so they said, I don't even know what a podcast is, Pastor, how to listen to one, but we're willing to support you in this. Try it. Go for it. Right? And the support of conference leadership who was willing to let evangelism funds be used creatively. Mm-hmm. Boom. In other words, it doesn't have to go to a reaping series. You can take these evangelism funds and use them for a podcast and even equipment if you need to. Wow. That was huge. And the conference has given us a bunch of money to get this off the ground and to do the marketing. But you don't need as much marketing as we used. You don't need as much marketing as we used. It's just that he believed in it. He's my co-host for it, Pastor Crespo, and so it took that. It took that buy-in and that understanding that in these dying areas, these post-Christian areas, evangelism means reaching out differently than we have in the past. And he believed in that. Amen. A willingness to fail and learn on the fly. So a willingness to fail and learn on the fly. There's a lot of trial and error. There are some episodes that get like 30 views. We've had episodes go over 1,000 views. Some people like some content over others. Episodes that we think are going to work really well, don't. Episodes that we think were stinkers, do really well. Learning how to do the marketing, learning to do the SEO. You have to just be willing to fail and spend a little money in failure too. It's all part of it. It's all part of it. And learning your community and learning what they like. That's all part of this as well. And we needed help with the tech. I needed help with the tech. I didn't know any of the tech issues going into this. I know computers a little bit. I know basic AV stuff, but I didn't know how to do this. And so Pastor Crespo, Elder Crespo, my partner in crime here, he knew a lot of this and got me going with the online software. So what is step one? The step one is actually what you may not think would be step one. Step one is actually start creating content. Now, of course, you need the equipment. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But once you gain the equipment, start creating content. Before you launch anything, before you release anything, before you start marketing, create content. Does anybody know why that would be the first step? Yes.
To have a lot of content when you guys go live.
Right, to have a lot of content when you release. Because if you start marketing and people go, oh, this is really interesting, and then go to your website or your YouTube page and there's nothing there, they go, oh, this is nothing.
And they forget you.
They're like, oh, I'm not gonna, think about it when you're buying a product. You want a lot of reviews, right? You want a lot of other products that are well reviewed. So when you create content, you've already got that going. People see, oh, this has been around a while. They've been working at this. This is really something substantial. So even if you haven't learned a lot, just start making some content and get some recordings going. And the nice thing about that too is if you're focused on creating content before you launch anything, then you're going to learn a lot before you even launch it. You're going to have some stinker episodes. You're going to have some technical issues. Run with it all. Just go with it, play with it, record it, get it down, and then as you begin to launch, get closer to launch, you'll have a little bit more of a refined product. Okay. Create content, episodes, website, social media. Start talking about it. You want to create your website, but don't launch it. You want to create your Facebook page, but don't launch it. So get this all ready to go, build out your content, and then you release it once you've got a library of a significant amount of episodes. All right? So it looks like something substantial before you even start. Step number 2, develop a marketing plan. Develop a marketing plan. Now, what does that look like? Now, again, we went fairly substantial. You don't have to. You can be as basic as you want. But what you do need to do is get your name out there a little bit. And Larry's sitting back there. He knows how to do this. He can help you with this. He can guide you through this. But the community needs to know that you exist. And we'll talk about some strategies about that here in just a minute. But you can begin organically as well. And here's the way that you begin organically. If you have church members that will be digital missionaries, you can spend little less on marketing. I did not have a church that knew how to even listen to a podcast, let alone share a podcast episode online. Right? So I needed other ways to get the episodes out there. So we needed to market it. My church members to this day, they don't listen to an episode unless I literally take the episode, put it in our group text, our church text, and say, here's the new episode, listen to it. So they can just go, play. That's how they listen to it. That's how they get to it. And so they don't know how to share it. But if you have a group of people, if you have a larger church, even if they don't like the episode, say just like it, share it, comment on it, text it to somebody, email it to somebody, say this really touched my heart. That helps get the word out. When you drive by the Baptist church and it says, we'll call it Auburn Baptist Church. Who goes to that church?
Baptists.
The Baptists in Auburn. When you drive by the Auburn Seventh-day Adventist Church, who goes to that church? But what if I'm not a Seventh-day Adventist or a Baptist? Why would I go there? That's how secular people think. I won't go to that church because I'm not a member of that church. And we put it out there, Auburn Seventh-day Adventist Church, Auburn Baptist Church, and people are going, so? Right? And it's not that they're opposed to it, it's just that they don't know anything about the church. So only people that belong to that church would go to that church.
So are like community churches more appealing to them?
It depends on your context. It depends on your community. It really does. And I don't want to be down on church names or saying we should all change our church names. But the reason that I didn't name it that was because I didn't want people who weren't members of my church to automatically write it off.
Right.
And we don't actively promote my church on the podcast either.
Okay.
So I'm not saying, hey, come to our church services, blah, blah, blah. Because remember, this is about gaining trust. in confidence. I have said several times, I just want you all to know that I do pastor a church. And of course, as a pastor, I would love to have you be a member of my church. But that's not what this podcast is about. This podcast is about you meeting Jesus and having a relationship with Him. And so that takes the pressure off, that relieves some of the pressure, and people don't feel like this only exists for this man to get me into his church. Because that's really what it's about. And remember, let me ask you this question. Remember that spectrum we talked about, people that are a 0 or a 10? Have I succeeded if I've taken someone who's a 1 or 2 and make them a 4 or a 5? Have I succeeded in my mission?
Yeah.
That's how we have to start thinking about evangelism in 2025. We may not be able to get people who are 0s or 1s or 2s all the way to 10s. But if we can get them to 4, 5s, or 6s, if we can get them to accept Jesus and begin to study, begin to think about deeper things, we've been successful. So some of our methods have to change as well. So it's all part of this new culture that we're in. So step 2, develop a marketing plan. And again, Larry knows more about this than me, but this is the general idea of what we used. We have a powerful message, but it means nothing if it's hidden. Isn't that true? We have such a powerful message, but if people don't hear it,
Like this, hide it under a bushel.
yeah, if people don't hear it, there's no platform for them to hear it, then they never receive it. So we have to get it out there. So there's the evangelism funnel, an online funnel. There's awareness, so people have to know that you exist. And then there's consideration for online content, so they know that you exist and they go, is this something that I want to subscribe to? Is this something that I want to watch more videos for? What's this all about? So 1 is just knowing that you exist. 2 is considering whether they even want to spend more time on it or invest any of their time or energy on it. And then comes the subscribe. They say, oh yes, I do want to subscribe. Yes, I do want to follow. Yes, I do want to track with this. I do want to watch more of these episodes. I do want to spend time with it, right? And then there's return. It's keep coming back for content. When they see an alert, oh, a new episode released. And coming in person. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Coming in person. So that's the idea that you want to make. So awareness, that comes with things like, what do I name my podcast? What will our content be like? Right? Because you have to remember, this is the first step in building a relationship with someone. They're online, they're not face-to-face. What is the very first interaction that you would like to have with somebody? That's what you need to start building your brand around, your podcast around. How do I want people to be introduced to me? How do I want them to see me? What's the image? What's the feel? What's the title? And then consideration about coming back. We talked about that. So again, this is about building trust and let me go here. So awareness and consideration. So also you need to begin to build your brand. You need some kind of way for people to know that this is your content. So some kind of simple logo. It doesn't have to be real fancy, or it can be fancy. I think Sermon View can help you. We worked with a guy named Cal. He's got a ministry called Adventist Growth as well. He's helped us tremendously. But with branded cards, banners, flyers, hats, shirts, wear your shirt around town. Tell people, hey, we'll give you a free shirt if you request one on the website. Start building things. I told my church members, and they did do this. We had little business cards with QR codes to our podcast. And we said, just leave these everywhere. Leave them at the gas pump. Leave them at the store on the register. Hand them to people. Put them up at the laundromat. So just start having people see that this is out there one way or another. Local SEO YouTube ads. Remember, we put all of our marketing, and there's people that are more intelligent than me. Larry can help you with this. Talk to Larry about this, about SEO, about branding and marketing and YouTube ads. You can literally go into web searches, Google. You can train it and pay it to have people find you first if they're looking for Christian content in your community. You can tell Facebook, make this ad specifically for people that are seeking spiritual things in Auburn, New York. And that's what we did. That's where we put our ministry and our money into this, and that's how people interacted with us. YouTube ads as well. Reels, do y'all know what reels are? Reels are shorts.
30 seconds.
Little 30 seconds to a minute. They're usually in that vertical style, and they're just a snippet of something, or there's somebody talking about something real quick, and it's always got the words there that go. You've seen these? Whatever they're saying, it's in text there. Those are fantastic little ads. You can make those when you're on a walk, and you're saying, hey, I've had this spiritual thought today, or this happened to me today. I'm praying for this. What can I pray for you about? Those are on there. You're putting those out as ads. It's all building the image, the relationship with people online. They're not hard to make. You just need your phone. Opus clips. Do y'all know? You probably don't know what Opus clips is. Anybody know what Opus clips are? Yeah. So we make our podcast episodes, and they're video podcast episodes. And this program will actually, you load your episode into it, and then it will spit out to you snippets that become shorts and reels of the most likely content that will be popular for your target audience. So it makes it for you. Opus clips, yep. So, and you by the way, you can do this for sermons, you can do this for all kinds of different stuff. So if you even want to do them for your church, you can use Opus clips for your church sermons, and it'll pick out things that it thinks will go viral or be shared a lot. It'll pick that out, put the text on it, and you just share it to your social media. Here's another little trick, and I know I'm getting technical for some of you, but here's another little trick that I learned. Use AI to come up with your descriptions for your episodes and your shorts. Because AI, and this, you can use ChatGPT, you can use Grok on X, you can use any number of them, but these programs know exactly the keywords, they know exactly the verbiage, they know exactly the details that you need to have in there, so it will funnel people to those words. Because it's all about the algorithm now. It's all about what YouTube and Facebook feeds you based on what it thinks your interests are. So it will use AI. Don't try to come up with them yourself. Use AI to come up with the words for you, and literally just copy and paste it from AI. And what I do is I say, give me a YouTube optimized description of a podcast episode on whatever topic. And then it will come up with a title, and it will come up with a description. And I started using that, and our shorts went from like 200 or 300 views up to 1,100 views.
Wow. Whoa.
So it really works. Give me a YouTube optimized title and description for a podcast episode on whatever the topic is. And you can actually modify it for whatever platform you're loading it onto also. But that helps a lot. It helps a lot. There's other programs you can buy that or subscribe to that will do some of that for you. I haven't found them as good as doing it that way, but there might be ones that I just haven't found yet. So here's the next one. This is important. So now, what have we done so far? We've created our podcast episodes. We've started our Facebook page. We have our website. We have content that's going out, little shorts and advertisement. We've paid for some ads so people can click through. Now what do we need to do?
Meet up.
Focus on building trust. Brand trust. Trust to your podcast. So how do we do that? This is the way that we did it. Last August, we made a Facebook ad that said, we are giving out free gift, and I would, even if you don't know what I'm saying about podcasts, do this in your local community, what I'm about to describe. We put out an ad to local public school teachers, and we said, we are giving away free gift baskets to local public school teachers. And we had stuff for their classroom, we had personal care stuff, and we built a basket, and then we also had a free table where they could choose one more expensive gift. Okay? And we said, come. And the people that we were organizing it with said, nobody's ever done this in our community, so you're probably going to get maybe 20 people. So we made like 35 baskets.
Oh, no.
We had 200 public school teachers come out to this.
Wow.
200.
What'd you do?
We gave away the 35 or so that we had made, and then we said, we'll hit you up later. And so what I've been doing throughout this year is getting gift cards to Starbucks and Amazon, because we can't do what we did there, and putting them in a card and delivering them to these teachers that we missed. And so, it continues. And we're going to do something again this year. But that is a very underserved population in your communities. People don't think about public school teachers and how much they invest in their own classrooms. If you just say free paper for public school teachers, you will get public school teachers there. If you say free Kleenex and Clorox wipes, free for teachers, you will get teachers to come to your church or whatever. But we did it with the podcast. And we said, give us your contact info, give us your email, and guess what? All those are now subscribers to our content for our podcast.
Amen.
So that was 200 teachers at the giveaway. And by the way, we're putting everything out on, we're making our videos, posting pictures, putting it all out there on our Facebook page, letting people know, what's going on, hashtag, that's right, that's my wife and my daughter at the giveaway there. The other thing we did was we said, sign up, make sure you give us your information, and we will give away a free iPad. So we gave away a camera, one of those cameras that print, those little ones, those digital ones that print. We did that, and we gave away a free iPad. This was the teacher that got the free iPad. So now what the community sees is this podcast wants to do something good in our community. Right? They want to have a good influence on our community. And so let me go check this out. What is this all about? We're tagging the teachers in the posts. We're doing these different things. And so their connections are checking us out too. So now you can see why we're starting to get all those hits on our website and things. You would not believe the amount of people that visited our website from the teacher giveaway when they saw the ads for the teacher giveaway. It was a lot. We did a free ice cream giveaway where we said through the podcast, come out, we're going to give you free ice cream this summer. We had a good group come to that. This one was awesome. At a community event at the community center, we set up our camera. This was actually another back to school giveaway, but this was for students. And we had a booth there, and we said, we asked kids and their parents one question. If you could ask God one question, what would that question be? And we had so many parents and kids come through, and then we designed podcast episodes from the questions that they asked. So now they're watching the episodes to see their question. And I have some of those examples, but we had kids ask, like, why did God create mosquitoes? What were some of the other ones? Oh, why did he create giraffes and not unicorns? And I said, well, unicorns are actually in the Bible. That was the answer I gave to that one. What were some of the other? Oh, we had even deeper ones, like why did God mess everything up so much and then not come down to fix it? So we had some, why did God let my dog die? Amazing stuff. And what we learned from that also is that our content needs to be more basic. Because these are people in our community. And we still do some of the higher theological stuff and Bible prophecy stuff, but these are the salt of the earth people that are in our community. And we learned there was a much greater biblical illiteracy than we thought. And we need to bring down our language, bring down our content to a place where they can understand it.
Yeah.
So this was really life-changing and podcast-changing in our perspective for that, because we were getting questions right from the very people that we were trying to reach. And so that was in a great way. And it was because we attended a community service event and was part of doing good for the community, building trust, right? Building trust. So here's the other one that's been tremendously successful for us. Create locally focused content. What do we usually do as a church? We put out Daniel and Revelation. How to understand the gospel. It's religious stuff. It's biblical stuff, right? We have done several community-focused podcast episodes, and all of those are in like the top 10 of our most viewed episodes. We did one on St. Patrick's Day, the history of the Irish in Auburn. That had a lot of views. We did one. We have a prison in our city, and there was a prison strike. The corrections officers were on strike. I went down to the strike lines, interviewed some of the COs, asked about the issues, and we did an episode on that. We just did one that released yesterday on, we did an interview with the local police chief, and in one day we've had over 300 views from people in Auburn. So, which is better than our other episodes, right? So that's been incredibly good. And so here's the thing. If you're doing local content and they're watching the local content, what else are they doing?
Probably look at the other content.
They're looking at your other episodes. That's exactly right. The other thing that we did was the first 13 episodes, we were still in the traditional mindset, which was in some ways good. But what we did was, there's a ton of history in Auburn. Auburn was the home of Harriet Tubman when she went north. A lot of Underground Railroad sites. William Seward, you all know Seward from Alaska, Seward's Folly. He lived there and was part of the government there. Seneca Falls was the site of the inspiration for It's a Wonderful Life. Also, the first women's suffrage meeting was held there. So a ton of history. So we went around to local historical sites, covered the historical site, and then did a Bible study based on that topic.
Wow, that's great.
And so it was based on our local community. So this isn't just theological stuff. This is homegrown based on our local community stuff. I even went to a chocolate shop. It was a locally owned chocolate shop in our community, interviewed the worker there, and I talked. Can anybody figure out what topic I might have used in a chocolate shop?
Temperance?
No, yeah. No, because I would have been a hypocrite on that one. What do you think? You ever buy a box of chocolates? You never know what you're going to get, right? All the chocolates look the same, don't they? But inside there's something different. It's the nature of Jesus, isn't it? Jesus looked just like the rest of us, but inside he was something different. He was something special. So we talked about the divinity of Jesus by going to a chocolate shop. And we highlighted the chocolate shop, and the people from the chocolate shop are sharing our content. You see how this works? And so it's getting the word out. They're sharing it. Really powerful, important stuff. I talked about the prison strike episode. So get followers and have church members like and share the content. Hopefully in your church, you will have more people that are a little more tech savvy than I have.
Phones of the ones who aren't, and we do it for them.
Right, yes, you can do that too. You can do that too. Yeah, absolutely. So once you have the content, once you have things going out, the more people share and their personal testimonies of how they've been blessed by the stuff that you're creating, the better it will be, the more impact that you'll have. And constantly, I hate doing this. I really hate doing this. Every video, every episode, everything, you constantly have to say, like, share, subscribe. Do you know why that's so important? Is it because you have an ego? Is that why you say that?
People have to hear it.
No, that's your free advertising.
They have to hear it a million times, that's right. But if the more people like an episode, the more Facebook and YouTube shares it with other people. So I always tell my church members, even if you didn't like this episode, like it, share it. Because, hit like, hit share. Because if they see that you liked it, the other people in the community are going to see it too. If you don't, it may die. We had some reels.
The algorithm figure out it's the church members that are starting it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so anyway. But yeah, if you don't have engagement with your post, it will die right there. It's how the algorithm works these days. So you always have to say like, share, subscribe, comment. Comments are really important. So, even when your church releases something, make sure you like it. Even put a smiley face on it, something. Shares are even better. But you have to do that in order to get any traction with the stuff. So tell your church members, when you see this, make sure you share it. Make sure you subscribe. And also, you're constantly inviting people to like, share, and subscribe your content. Step 5, more in-person events. So as you build this trust, we're gaining up, building up to the point where we can say, follow me, right? That's the goal. But the goal is to be able to meet these people in person. So it's one thing to love a podcast. It's another thing to come and meet somebody face to face. Which is why we started with the face to face with giveaways. So people are coming to get something, right? That's why we started with those. But we have a Bible study. We have 2 non-Adventists on our Tuesday night Bible study. We've had non-Adventists come to our ice cream giveaways and different things. Just being completely honest with you, this is an area where my church really struggles. And the reason is, it's me and a bunch of elderly people. Now we're gaining people. So hopefully we can get to the point. But I can't create all this content. Creating content takes time. It does. It takes time. And creating the episodes takes time. So I can't create content and plan these in-person events. I just don't have the time to do it. So we could be even stronger in this. If you go check out our website, that's the weakest part of our website, is these in-person events. But it's one of the absolute most important aspects to it. And I think that if we had somebody that was really engaged in that, we would be doing even better than we already are. Because we just need a very social person who can think about the experience of a visitor when they show up to something, and think about the giveaways and think about the fun. That's time consuming too, and it's a gift, right? It's a gift of hospitality, which I don't have time for, and it's not necessarily my main gift anyway. So that's key. And if you can, while you're creating this great content, say, hey, we've got this awesome event that's coming up. And these are all the things we're going to have a bounce house for the kids and blah, blah, blah. That goes a long way. The other thing too is if you have community events happening, fairs, local block parties, ask if you can set up a booth. So the more they can see your face in person, the more successful you're going to be in building these relationships. Does that make sense to everybody? So let's talk about content for a minute. Here's some of the episodes that we've made. The New York prison strike, Jesus and Harriet Tubman. Like I said, we did that historical episode about Harriet Tubman, followed her life. Trump episodes always do well. I did one. Did you see this bishop from the Greek Orthodox Church say he's like Constantine? You remind me of Emperor Constantine. And so I went on the episode and I said, is that a good thing? And it talked about the 7 churches of Revelation and what Constantine's time looked like and why it's dangerous when we trust in a world leader to be the champion of our faith. It talked about the issues around that. That episode did pretty well. So interview local faith leaders, community organizers, and this is what I've been telling the faith leaders that we've been lining up. There's one church that's doing a addiction recovery program at their church. And I said, let's have you on the podcast. And I told them this: I don't promote my church, so don't you promote your church, but you can promote your program. Okay. So if you have an addiction recovery, if you're doing something really good, if you're doing a giveaway, whatever, we're gonna feature you on the podcast. Tell me why that's smart. They share it. And guess who's watching it?
Subscribe it.
They're members.
It creates traffic for your church.
It creates traffic for our church. So by me featuring programs of other churches, now those churches are watching our content. I say to them, of course, I'm a pastor. Of course I want you to be a member of my church. I would love for everybody to be a member of my church. But that's not what we're doing here. And so that's worked out really well. And the other part of that too is it also allows us to invite local community members like government officials and things onto the podcast, because they're not coming to a church podcast, they're a faith-based podcast, but it's not directly involved with a church organization. So volunteers are making a difference, share their stories and insights. So the more local people you can have on, the better. Discuss relevant social issues in your area from a faith perspective. This can include topics like homelessness, community service, or mental health. Local history, as I mentioned earlier. Local events, the ice cream giveaway, Jesus is like chocolate. That was the name of that episode that we had. Highlight upcoming community events, church activities, faith-based gatherings. You can provide previews, interviews, or recaps. Service projects. Document and promote local service projects or outreach initiatives that your church community is involved with. Just on Sunday, we released an episode with the police chief. One of the things that he mentioned on the podcast is their drone regiment or drone, I don't know what you call it, force in their departments. And Miguel, who's my partner in crime here, loves drones. So what we're going to do is plan an event where the police come out and showcase their drones. Miguel's going to bring his drones, and we're going to invite the community out for a drone demonstration. Sponsored by Try Jesus Auburn. So, just that kind of thing builds this trust and builds these relationships and gets people there in person. Testimonies, y'all know what testimonies are. Faith and culture, explore how local culture intersects with faith. This can include local traditions, festivals, historical sites. Bible studies, create content around local Bible study groups or faith discussions. Okay, here's some notes about content. Assume less knowledge. Because what you're trying to do is reach people with not the same knowledge base that you have. Because that's most people in a post-Christian city or area, right? Ask questions, get people thinking. Don't always have all the answers to your questions, even if you know all the answers to your questions. The goal is engagement, isn't it? So ask people, what do you think about this? One of our most interacted with episodes was on Can Satan Be Saved? And the other one was Angels and Aliens. And you would not believe some of the things that we got and the different perspectives that we got. And it was really interesting. People that were angry about some of the things that we said. And here's the amazing thing about that. It's good when people are angry. And I actually interact with them on purpose. Because I try to be not confrontational. I don't argue with people. I'll ask questions in the comments. Do you know why? Because angry people fire back. And if they're angry and I'm commenting and they keep going, more people see that interaction. And if you can maintain a Christian attitude about the conversation, even while somebody else is angry, one, you might reach them. But number two, other people are going to see that post because those platforms are going to push that content out to them. Respond to questions. Let questions shape the conversation. That's really important too. What do you think about this? Comment with what you think. Send us an email. Stockpile content, we talked about that earlier. Use video and audio. Even if you just do an audio podcast, still do your reels and your shorts to help create some of that and a face to the voice. Because ultimately you're trying to promote in-person interaction. Be real, show vulnerability. This right here, there are some of our biggest ministries right now in the church that are doing podcasts. And they show up in suits and ties. They're doing a podcast. The power of a podcast is that it's relaxed, it's personal, it's not churchy. It's just us, two or three people talking about a topic. You're being real, you're being vulnerable, you're being genuine. That's the power of the podcast. We can do all kinds of very stuffy presentations on theology, and some of our ministries have created very stuffy presentations on theology in a podcast format. It's like, what are you doing? The power of the podcast is that it's personal, it's interactive, it's warm, it's friendly, it's genuine. That's the power in it. So when people are able to interact with you in their mind because they're watching you on their phone or they're hearing you in their ears, and they hear you joke. They hear you make mistakes. Miguel and I are constantly picking on each other. That's the that's the fun in it. We're constantly joking with each other. If you watch the first 13 episodes that we did, Miguel is from the same area, but he was clueless on most of the sites that we were going to. He's like, I didn't even know this exists. I'm like, you've lived here most of your life. How can you not know this exists? So I'm giving him a hard time about this a lot. And the last episode that we did in that little mini series, I had a T-shirt made up called "The Clueless Tourist," and I put his face on it. And gave it to him. So we're doing a lot of that kind of stuff on the podcast because that's who I am in real life.
That's awesome.
That's who he is in real life, and so that's the person that these people are going to interact with when they come in person. And so we're giving not just people proper information, we're giving them a window into the pastor of the church that they might join at some point. That's the power in it. That's what a live stream of a church service can't give you. Because it's the church service and it's the sermon. Because that's just the format that you're in. The podcast can build a relationship with people in a way that a formal broadcast of something never can. So it's personal, it's warm, it answers questions, it speaks on a more basic level. That's the power of it, and that's why it's so successful and why so many people listen to it. Have real conversations. 2-person talks and live sessions feel personal. Here's something else that I've done. My daughter is 15. So we release our regular episode on Sunday. And we tell people, watch the episode throughout the week, like, share, comment, and we will answer any questions or answer any comments in our live session on Friday. So we give them all week to watch it, and then we take their questions, and then on Friday nights, we have a live session. So we go live. And here's a trick that I did. I invited my 15-year-old daughter on with me. Guess what episodes have been the most watched of our live sessions?
The ones with her.
With her in it. With her in it. She's a very articulate. We're very proud of her. She just joined National Honor Society as a sophomore. So she's doing really well. And she can talk about these things in a clear way, and that teen perspective people enjoy. So really, I felt a little insulted at first. People want to listen to her and not me.
Putting all this effort into it.
But so they enjoy that. But I'll answer some questions, then I'll bring her in on something. You can check those out if you want. But that 2-person approach can help as well. Sometimes you have to speak directly at the camera, though, too. And a lot of your shorts and reels can do that. But make your appeals talk directly to the camera. Why? Because people are holding you in their hand. They're watching on their iPad or even on their TV. But now you're talking to them. Right to them. So do that occasionally also. Share, don't preach. That's important too. You're sharing, we're talking, we're having a conversation. I don't know if we have time to get into all this. It talks about watch time and retention. There's other people that are doing seminars, and I'm sure Larry can help you with this. You want to stop people from scrolling. So there's a formula on what you can do in order to prevent that. So there's a hook. So you're going to say something, you're going to tell a quick story to get people engaged with watching. So that's step 1, okay? So you want to stop the scroll. Use a bold, emotionally engaging hook that sparks curiosity. I'll let you all take pictures of this because I'm going to go through fairly quickly. Oh, yep. Sorry. And I can send you these slides too if you want to email me. So story, beginning and ending. So you want to tell a story at the beginning, you want to tell a story at the end, and toward the beginning, and I'm still learning this format, by the way. I'm learning how to do this. So at the beginning, in your first few minutes, you want to say, make sure you watch this episode to the end because I'm going to tell you an amazing story about something. So people are going, I gotta hold on until the end of this episode because he's going to tell something. Or at least they'll fast forward to the end. And even if they fast forward to the end, guess what that just did for the YouTube algorithm?
It counts it as them
It counts it as them watching the whole thing. So they watch to the end. Yes. Yes. So start with one and end with one. Make it real, make it human. Body, teach and engage. So the middle of your episode. Deliver the main value teaching clearly and simply. Use illustrations, analogies, visuals, or personal examples. Like I said, drop a second hook midway through. Make sure you stay till the end. Content structure, use your closing, recap, show people where to subscribe, tell them how to subscribe, and give them another episode to watch. So use that on your thumbnail at the end. Here's something else, trick that we learned. Multiple offers on your website. So we have offers for a free pastoral visit. There is a program right now, I can't remember the name of it, but it will schedule for you digital online pastoral visits. This is brand new, so we haven't had anybody do this yet, but we just started it. But you can put it on your website, and people can go to your website and request an online pastoral visit. And it will schedule, you just tell it what times you're available or when you could do it, and then it'll offer those to people when they go to your website. So you can even do this on your church website as well. Back to school giveaway we have a free Bible offer. We have what's called the Try Jesus Challenge, and we challenge people to talk to God twice a day. And I promote this all the time. We say, no matter what your experience is with God, if you are mad at God, shout at God twice a day. If you're sad, cry to God twice a day. If you're happy, thank Him twice a day. But just talk to Him twice a day. Send in your blessings, send in your prayer requests. We're going to pray for those things. So every week I send an email. How's it going? How have your prayers been answered? And then on the Friday live sessions, I share for everybody the answered prayers that week.
Nice.
So we're building community. So we've got that offer. We are also offering free to 5 kids free summer camp.
Wow.
So we have Camp Cherokee. It's our conference summer camp, and they have a program where they reduce the cost for non-Adventist kids. And the podcast, the evangelism money again. We have asked the conference to allow us to do this, and they said yes. We will send 5 kids free of charge to summer camp through the podcast. Engage with everything. Every comment, just engage, because as you engage, other people engage. It's that more engagement that's important. Like, joke, ask questions. People will criticize me sometimes. Oh, I can't believe you said this. How do you believe it? And I always say, I'm happy to be wrong. My wife tells me I am all the time. Just stuff like that when I respond. And, that just it keeps it light and usually disarms people, but sometimes they're still angry with me. But anyway, you can see some of the engagement that we've had there. We don't get as much as we would like. So here's the results of what we've had so far. 9 months. In 9 months, 4 baptisms, 3 families reclaimed. So people that were not attending any church but were Adventists saw the podcast, saw that we were doing something different there, and they built a relationship with the pastor in a way that was not what they were used to. They saw me in a different light. We've reclaimed 3 families, 12 new members under the age of 55. That's up to 14 now. 3 more interest ascent studies in church. The church budget is in the black and has significant savings for the first time in years. And here's the good news. We're just getting started. It's building. It's not that we've built up to a meeting and then we're going to try to have to reboot the whole thing. It's we've built this and it's going to keep climbing. It's going to keep growing. So that's the power in this. There's Deanna, who was baptized. I'll tell you this story. Deanna is my wife's cousin. They both grew up in an Irish Catholic family. And a significant part in her conversion was the podcast. Her and her husband. There's what our pot, that's just a small portion of what our pot look like now. From 15 elderly people, or 13 elderly people, 15 total, to full tables. We've got kids there. They want to be there. This is Linda. This was the lady I was telling you about who contacted us recently. I love your podcast. I believe in the Sabbath because we did an episode on the Sabbath. I want to start coming to your church. And she's just a lovely person. She's normal. Like, she's okay, she's good. She was convicted and she's all in, man. She's awesome. So here's what our budget totals look like. So for 9 months, we spent $9,000 on ads. Again, the conference let us use evangelism funds to do this. $9,000 on ads, $16,000 total. So the extra money was to get the technology that we needed to get going. And then $2,000 for giveaways, like the iPads, the teacher stuff. This sounds like a lot, but look at these results. 4 baptisms, 3 reclaimed families.
Amen.
If we held a meeting and had those results, what would people say?
It was a miracle.
Hallelujah, right? That's amazing. church has more than doubled in attendance. And we've spent considerably less than an evangelistic series would cost. Considerably less. And the powerful thing is, again, it's not that we built up to this meeting, had this meeting, we harvested, and now we've got to start over. It's this podcast is growing and growing and growing and growing. It's going to continue to grow because we're making more relationships all the time online with our community. And we're going to continue to do that through local interviews, through the things that I mentioned. So it's going to continue to grow. It's just getting started. They say, you need at least like 4 to 5 years to really get legs behind a podcast. And so we're 9 months in. You can do this as simply or as complicated as you want. You can literally just use your phone if you want to. Set up your phone on a tripod and do it. Record your episodes. I would recommend if you use your phone, Rode has some mobile mics, and they're really inexpensive, $200-$300. They just plug into the base of your phone, and there's a mic that goes on your shirt, and the audio is incredibly good. So you can be as simple as that. If you do it that way, make sure your lighting's good. You might need to buy some lighting. Make sure your backdrop is good if you're going to do a video podcast. That makes a difference if people are going to continue to watch. Or you can get more complicated. We use Mac. We're Mac-based, so the program that we use to produce our episodes, if you need to go, by all means, I don't want to hold you up, but I'll just show you what our podcast looks like. This is the most recent one with the chief of police. We have 3 DSLR cameras. We use the Sony EV. I can't think of it. I guess the internet's not going to work here. But they're just Sony cameras. And we plug into those, and we use Mac-based content. The program called eCam. Some of you might be familiar with eCam. You can use that to stream your church services and everything else. But I guess this isn't going to work. I had it playing while some of you came in, so. eCam is really great because it allows you to switch cameras and sources. You can get as complicated or as simple as you want. But the fact of the matter is the Lord will lead you, and there's other people around you probably that can help you.
I personally sat in on Dustin Hall's presentation at the Propel conference, and my big takeaway from this was how he tailored digital content to the specific geographic area that he's trying to reach. And I loved how he went out on location and he told stories of the history of that town. And this is actually an approach that I've adopted in my own digital ministry. What about you? What stood out from this message for you? What's the big takeaway? And when this episode is finished in another minute or so, please turn off your audio player for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes and just let your mind wander. Pause and reflect. What was the takeaway? What percolates to the top of your mind as you're reflecting on it? How can you carry that idea into your own ministry? These quiet moments of reflection are so important and can often lead us to our next breakthrough. Well, that's it for this episode. We'd love to hear from you. You can send an email to podcast@propelconference.org. And please mark your calendar for the upcoming Propel Conference coming to Silver Spring, Maryland, April 12 to 15, 2026. Early bird registration is now open at propelconference.org. That's propelconference.org. Special thanks to Dustin Hall for speaking at the 2025 Propel Conference and to the Washington Conference for sponsoring this episode. This has been the Propel Podcast, inspiration and innovation to grow your church. The Propel Podcast is produced by the Sermon View crew, and the event recording services were provided by Adventist Learning Community. I'm Larry Witzel, wishing you God's richest blessing in your own evangelistic journey. Please join us again next time for another episode of the Propel Podcast.